I'm your lovely host, Toast. Welcome back to the Crumb Scale. Today's film, we are going to be talking about Wicked. This episode was supposed to come out yesterday, but unforeseen events kind of happened, which caused me to be busy all day. For the FA people, if they ever watch this, it's something that was supposed to come out on Christmas, but it's probably going to come out later now, due to how awful recording that has been. But besides that, I'm gonna say now, I expected going into this film for it to be about awesome lesbians. I thought it was gonna be about the witch and Glinda falling in love, but in the end, it is a movie about animal racism. Spoiler warning, moving forward. Since that's kind of just what this series is. It's about me ranting about these movies. That I'm not even like joking with you. That is actually the plot by the end of this film, is animal racism, and it is wild. So, like I said, going into this movie, I thought it was going to be about these two falling in love, and this film has things in it that make me very uncomfortable, but not because it's like not good, I guess. Not because of, touchy subjects or anything. It is because the implications that this film has at times is very concerning. For one, if anyone remembers, like, The Wizard of Oz, the witch's sister gets crushed by, like, a building. If I recall correctly. It could have been something else. But she gets crushed by a building. In this movie, the witch's sister is paralyzed from, like, the waist down, and she's in a wheelchair. So it is kind of upsetting to look at this character that I kind of enjoyed. She was fun whenever she was in the movie, but it's sad knowing that this character is going to get crushed by a building. And there's also another implication that the witch is potentially Oz's, like, child. To explain that, at the beginning of the movie, it takes place after the ending of The Wizard of Oz. So the witch is dead. She got melted. The people are, like, celebrating. I keep saying, like, I'm sorry. That is just who I am as a person. But they're celebrating. And Glinda shows up. She celebrates with them, kinda. But she's upset because her not friend enemy is dead. And so she starts explaining the witch's story to the people, because one of them asks, like, hey, how does one become wicked? So she just starts rambling on. She starts yapping about the story of the witch. So in her origin, it is very heavily implied that Oz is her father, because her mother cheats on her father with someone with a green emerald bottle, and when in the scene, he sounds like Jeff Goldblum, who plays Oz in this movie, which is kind of uncomfortable to think about, especially knowing what happens later in the film, and also knowing the original Wizard of Oz story. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I could be wrong, but the relationship the witch and Oz has in the original doesn't really feel the same as the one they have in this, even if you ignore the fact that Oz is probably her father. So yeah, the movie has a lot of uncomfortable implications. There are some good things in this movie, though, I will say. Like, for one, the bright colors, and some of the songs were good. I don't remember any of them, I'm gonna be honest. I went into this expecting like the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my life, but I don't think I remember like a single one. Um, the cinematography at the end of the movie is very fun when she kind of accepts that she's the witch, and some of the VFX are like really good. But then you have the weird downsides to this movie. For one, so you all remember the lion from the original Wizard of the Oz like thing? God, I cannot talk. I'm struggling. Probably because I have to record 2 episodes today. So I'm like kind of in shambles. Also, something happened recently that has kind of left me shaken. But besides that, my mind just blanked. Besides that, the film is odd because if y'all remember the lion, that is a dude. That is like an anthropomorphic animal. It has no resemblance to an actual lion, right? So in this movie, you expect that with every other animal. But then when they show up, they're just actual animals that talk. They're just horses, goats, leopards. They just talk. That's it. They're realistic animals. And the weird thing is, I don't remember if I saw him correctly at the opening, because you do see the original cast walking to the city very briefly. I'm pretty sure he's still humanoid, which is very weird because there's a scene later on where the witch's teacher gets kidnapped. He's like a goat, and he gets kidnapped in front of the entire class. This scene was actually funny because the police people come in and they just start taking him out, and he's like screaming for his students to do well, and the witch gets up and she just says, are we not going to do anything about that? And everyone is silent, and she gets told to go back to her seat, and she just listens. She doesn't fight at all, which, I mean, fair enough, I guess. You don't want to get expelled from this school, I suppose, but still, I feel like she could have done more. But the reason why I bring this scene up is because their new teacher comes in. He has a cage with like a lion cub, I think it is, inside of it, if I remember correctly. My memory's a bit hazy. It's my mind trying to blur out the trauma. But there's like a lion in a cage, and she puts her class to sleep out of stress, because apparently that's how her powers work, because she can't control them. Except like a dude that feels very forced in, because it's supposed to be, he's the tool to have, I guess, a sort of quote-unquote love triangle between the witch and Glinda, because they both like this dude, which I don't get. It feels very forced, I'm gonna be honest. But the reason why I bring up this cub is because I feel like this is implying that this cub grows up into the lion, because for one, this is in the past. It's supposed to take place a long time ago, and because the lion is the only free animal by the time the Wizard of Oz's events happens. So it's very weird thinking that this lion cub goes from this very realistic animal that you probably would have seen in the live action Lion King to then being a furry. Like, it's if you can't tell, this film is very hard for me to talk about because I just I I thought it was gonna be something completely different, and it just wasn't. So another thing that comes from this scene, the witch gets invited to go see Oz, and she gets the perfect idea because she's like, I'm gonna ask him to stop the cruelty against animals and let them be free. So she goes to the city with Glinda, and something happened in the scene to me, but I won't bring that up because that is a bit too silly. But she goes to see Oz. This is our first introduction to the flying monkeys. Something I don't get is the film keeps bringing up how Oz likes green, likes emerald and all that. And the monkeys are blue. They wear green armor, but they're still blue. And this kind of bothers me because why did he make them blue? Or have they always been blue? And why aren't other animals also differently colored than what they're usually supposed to be? Unless there's a blue monkey IRL that I just don't know about. It felt weird. So she goes here. They walk past the monkeys. They're all just chilling because the witch was invited. They meet Oz. The effect for Oz's like machine that he hides behind is awesome. I love it. Jeff Goldblum does a great job here. In my opinion, he was a perfect choice for an old man who kind of takes over this silly little dimension thing. So, he kind of just starts rambling on about how the reason why he invited her is because he treats everyone like his kid and he wants her to live with him. But in actuality, it's because he wants to exploit her for power. And she's kind of chill with it at first, but then she just brings up the animal racism thing, and he kind of he pulls a 180. Very slowly though. So he's like, oh, well, if that's what you want, I guess. And so they have her read this book that only the ancients could read, and this is because the writing in it is a lost language. She somehow knows this language. I don't remember anything saying how she would know, but she just knows, which is fine, I guess. Maybe she was born with the knowledge. And she gives the monkeys wings, and this is where her like principal person is like, they'll make great spies, and that's where the witch kind of draws the line. She's like, what spies? What do you mean? And this is where they kind of just go mask off, and they just outright admit, oh, to find the animals because they belong in cages. So she steals the book and she runs off, and she becomes the witch after like this emotional song number that happens, which made me believe more that this was supposed to be a film about two lesbians, but unfortunately they didn't go for that, which upsets me. But besides that, I make it sound faster than it happens, but I'm gonna be honest, this movie's pacing was slow. It was a snooze. I tried staying up, but there was a couple times where, I'm gonna just be honest, I almost fell asleep. But that's partially just due to me not really being interested in this myself. There's probably going to be someone out there who's like a big Wicked fan, and honestly, if you like this movie, good for you. But for me, it's not where I'm at. I mean, I'll probably see the second one when it comes out, because if you didn't know, this movie's a two-parter. So I'm probably going to see that. when it comes out. But as of right now, as the film by itself, well, if you can hear that, that is the jets outside. Um, as a movie by itself, it's all right. It's kind of just weird. It has too much going against it when you look at it from the original, which it's trying to tie into. And in some moments it works, but you kind of just lose the sense of continuity. Because there's some moments that just feel off. Like I said, with the sister, it's kind of upsetting to think about how she's paralyzed from the waist down, and by the next movie she's probably gonna be able to stand up with the magical ruby shoes and then get crushed by a building. So that's upsetting to think about. Also, the whole thing with the wizard being potentially the witch's father, her father that's in her life is kind of abusive, which is uncomfortable. But, I mean, I guess you do you, filmmakers. So, in the end, the movie, if you wanted to see it, I do recommend at least seeing it once. So, with all that said, and my awful ranting done, because I kind of want to get to the next rant, because I'm going to do so much better in that one, because I can actually talk about the movie and everything behind it. With this movie, I just saw the movie. I know nothing about the behind the scenes. I'm sure everyone behind this was putting their full effort into it. But with all that being said, on the Crumb scale, I'm unfortunately going to have to give this movie at least a 40 out of 100. The reason why I give this scale is because I did have fun with the movie. Just like Craven, there were moments where I genuinely had fun watching this, and also popcorn was great. But in my opinion, there's just too much going against it, and I feel like when the next part comes out, hopefully it'll improve upon it. If not, then this movie is going to sit where it is. Will the score change later? Maybe. Depends on if I see a worse movie. But as of right now, it is a 40 out of 100. So thank you all for listening to my stupid little rant about Wicked. Like I said last video, this is a side channel. Subscribe if you want, but in the end, go to the main channel. I have so much more fun on there. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. Bye-bye.